Well, let's talk about George Romero's big budget Dead film. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. Today we're going to check in and see how the zombie apocalypse is going. But before we do that check, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here. I greatly would appreciate that. Today we're going to talk about George Romero's Land of the Dead to cap off my three-fer of Romero zombie films. We're going to end this with Land of the Dead and move on to some other horror titles. This film came out June 24th of 2005. I actually got to see this twice in movie theaters that summer. It's rated R, and the theatrical cut was an hour and 33 minutes long. The unrated cut, which is what I watched last night before reviewing this, is about an hour and 39, hour and 41, somewhere in there. Now, this was Romero's biggest budgeted zombie film with $15 million. Upon release, it made 20 in America and 47 worldwide. And again, this was his biggest and widest release for any of his Dead films and his biggest budget. Now, he was recycling some of his ideas from his original Day of the Dead script. If you remember, as we discussed in that review, Romero's original script, he needed $7 million to accomplish what he wanted to do with that original script. It was a much bigger film, more action set piece. Here, he had more money working with the studio. He had to come in with an R rating, although they did release the unrated cut on home video. Cast-wise, we got Simon Baker playing Riley. We got John Leguizamo playing Cholo. They both play like this military arm of this community. They go out into the zombie world or land of the dead and find supplies like food, water, medical supplies, and whatnot. Anything useful they can bring back to this walled-off city, which is Pittsburgh. They shot this in Toronto. Unfortunately for Romero, he wanted to shoot in Pittsburgh, but the producers said, we'll shoot in Toronto because we can save money on the tax breaks. Which was up until this point, this was the first zombie film that Romero shot outside of Pittsburgh. He usually shot in and around Pittsburgh, but unfortunately, working with the studio, he didn't get much of a choice here. Asia Argento, yes, Dario Argento's daughter is in this film, and she plays Slack. She's kind of like this woman who's living on the street. Riley meets her at this kind of seedy underground place where they take bets on zombie fights, but this time the owner is adding a little flavor by putting this woman in there and let the zombies fight over her. And Riley saves her, and they end up being together the rest of the film. We got Dennis Hopper as Kaufman. He's kind of the lord of the kingdom. He is the one that's in charge of all of this. He created it all, as he mentions during the film. And Robert Joy plays Charlie. He is Riley's right-hand man. They've been together for a long time, and he watches Riley's back. Robert Joy had already worked with Romero once back in '93 on Romero's Stephen King's adaptation, The Dark Half. And actually, it's a very underrated Stephen King adaptation. If you've never seen it, check it out. I actually really like that film. There's some good performances, and it's pretty well handled by Romero. So if you've never seen that one, check that one out. It's pretty good. Now, like I said, Romero was recycling a lot of the ideas he had from his original Day of the Dead script. Right in the beginning of the film, he sets up this desolate town, and the zombies just kind of meandering about. And then we see our guys that go out, Simon Baker being one of them, his character, and Cholo, and a bunch of other groups, and their big military vehicle called Dead Reckoning. And they go into this town and they raid it for whatever they can find, food, medical supplies, as I said earlier. This young kid gets killed because of Cholo being Cholo in this film. He has high hopes of retiring from the kind of enforcer game and moving to Fiddler's Green where all the rich people live. And he made a deal with Kaufman, at least he thinks he is, and he's trying to find this alcohol so he can give it to Kaufman as a gift. Although he gets screwed, pretty soon he finds out that Kaufman had never had no intentions of letting him move into the green, and that pisses him off, and then we get to the crux of our situation. So pretty much this film is, we set up the Cholo character, and this is where the rub of it is. Now Riley's thing is this is his last run. He plans on leaving Fiddler's Green in the city, Pittsburgh, to go off on his own. He does not want to stay there. He believes that it's like almost like a prison, even though everybody's living a decent, well, obviously the people in the tower are the rich folks that are living high off the hog. The people on the streets aren't living that great, but at least they're alive and they can go about their daily lives. So the main thing is when Cholo leaves, he steals Dead Reckoning and he threatens to blow up Fiddler's Green unless Kaufman pays him all this money. What's he going to do with all this money? Because there's nobody else alive? Who knows? That's the one thing, the whole money aspect, Cholo's thing about the money, it's like, why, dude? You're not going to be welcome back in this community. Where are you going to spend it? There's nobody else out there. They talk about how they haven't seen anybody alive when they go outside the walls to collect all these goods for the community. So I don't know what he plans on doing with all this money, But he steals Dead Reckoning with his guys, and he's threatening to blow up the green. So Kaufman sends Riley out to recover Dead Reckoning. And in the meantime, Big Daddy, our main zombie, who's kind of like our bub in this film, leads the zombies to the city. They go across the river in a pretty cool shot, and the havoc ensues, and the zombies tear a bunch of people apart, and Kaufman ends up getting killed in the end by Cholo and getting blown up in a pretty cool scene. And Riley rides off with Asia Argento's character, Charlie, and a bunch of other people in Dead Reckoning, and that's the end of Land of the Dead. What to like about this film? Well, Romero with a bigger budget. Definitely the scope is bigger than anything Romero's ever done with his zombie films, although he's always done a lot with very little in his previous zombie films. But it's definitely bigger in scope. There's way more zombies, way more effects. There's digital effects here which don't hold up very well at all. Now, the unrated cut really does give you the carnage candy. It's pretty gory. It's not on the level of Day of the Dead or even Dawn of the Dead, but they do show a lot in that unrated cut. I don't remember the R-rated cut all that much, even though I saw it in the theaters twice in 2005. I don't remember how gory that cut was. The only cut I've been watching over all these years since then has been the unrated cut. It's pretty gory. It doesn't hold up quite as gruesome as some of his earlier films, but for a movie released around that time, it's pretty goddamn gory. We get a cameo by Tom Savini dressed in the biker gear from Dawn of the Dead. It's a cool cameo. Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright cameo as two zombies that are being used for a photo op on the streets of this city. I like the military aspect of it. I like the vehicle of Dead Reckoning. I think there's some cool action set pieces. The zombie carnage is there, like I said. It's fun when it happens, when everything goes to shit. Dennis Hopper's good here. He's chewing the scenery as only Dennis Hopper can do. It doesn't matter. He's just this rich prick who looks down on everybody else, and he's in charge. He trained these military-type guys to go out and do this. He put the resources together to build Dead Reckoning and put the city together and wall it off and protect everybody, but he definitely looks down on everybody, and he definitely thinks he's better than everybody else. You could get that sense, and Romero's definitely going for the social commentary about the class system. It's a little heavy-handed, but it kind of, thank God the movie's not that long, so we get right into the carnage for a good part of the film. So it hits you in the head, but then it's kind of on to the carnage, and then we get our ending, and that's the end of the film. Out of all of his Dead films, at least his first 4 Dead films, I'm not going to comment on Diary or Survival, but this is his weakest film. I still enjoy it, don't get me wrong. There are things I really like about this film. I think the acting's pretty good. Obviously, this is his most established cast out of any of his films, of his Dead films up to this point. But Simon Baker, he's good in some scenes. I always thought that Thomas Jane would have been perfect for that role. Because I really like Thomas Jane. Simon Baker's okay here. He does okay for what he's given to do. John Leguizamo's good here. Asia Argento's good as well. Everybody's pretty good here. The Simon Baker character, though, I always wished he would have hired Thomas Jane for some reason. I always thought Thomas Jane would have been much better for that role. But overall, the acting is not the problem here. I think the social commentary is a little heavy-handed, even for Romero. I mean, he always had social commentary in his films, but here it's a little heavy-handed. And the movie kind of peters out towards the end. Like, when they're trying to get back in the city with Dead Reckoning to help save some of the people on the street because they realize the zombies are raiding the city, the action was much better in the first half of the film. Yeah, we get to carnage, and that's great. But the action itself, and them trying to help everybody, and they're late to help a lot of people. They do save some folks. It just kind of peters out towards the end. And the Big Daddy zombie, his name is Big Daddy, he doesn't work as well for me as Bub in Day of the Dead. They don't really set up why he's smarter than the other zombies, like he's the leader. In Day of the Dead, Frankenstein kind of trained Bub. And we don't know for how long, but he had been working with Bub for a long time. So we get the sense of, while Bub wasn't brilliant, he was smarter than your average zombie. This guy is smart from the beginning, and there's no reason, no basis why he would be smart at the end of the day. So his character really doesn't work for me that well. Not as well as Bub. I definitely like the Bub character better. That was always something that always grated me ever since I saw it, even though, I still enjoy this film. It's just not Romero's strongest zombie film out of the first 4, sad to say. But it's still a pretty damn good movie. It was great that the studio gave Romero $15 million to go make a zombie film. Now, there were rumors back then, and I can't find them now, but I remember there was talk back then, and we're going to consider this a rumor because I don't have anything to back this up. But I remember reading on the internet that Romero was messed with by the studio. and that he had walked off set one day. Now, I can't confirm any of this. This is just rumor territory, but I remember reading that back in the day. I can't find any mention of that now, and obviously Romero has since passed away, God rest his soul. But I remember reading that he was messed with on the film, and he walked off set one day, and that they were screwing with him. Which is why Romero always hated working with the studios. He only ever worked with the studios a handful of times, and he always didn't enjoy it. That's why I always went back to low-budget filmmaking. But I remember reading that. But at the end of the day, this is still a pretty damn good zombie film from one of the masters of horror, and I would give it a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 for Land of the Dead. What are your thoughts on this film? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe button. Share this video. I would appreciate that. We are in the Halloween season, although like I said in one of my previous reviews, it's always Halloween at my house. But until next time, bye.